大家好，我是说话多所以啰嗦，为了记录生活而拍视频、爱讲故事的李蛋。这周发生了2件大事啊，第一件就是美国明尼苏达州警察就是误杀黑人，然后引发就是暴乱的一个事情。我这里就不多说了，因为前几天我录了一个视频，就是讲这件事的，但是在网站上通过不了，说涉及到时政，不让播，不让说，所以这里就不提了。然后第二件大事就是今天5月30号周六，美国就是现在特斯拉的 CEO 伊朗马斯克创办的一个太空探索技术公司叫 SpaceX 他们的有新研发和 NASA 一起新研发的火箭，今天就是载人升天，载2个人升空进入太空道，然后大概19个小时的航程会到太空站，然后他们会在太空站里休息。今天是有直播的一段视频，我打算给大家录一下其中的一小段，因为总时长是6个多小时，我觉得前面很多都是铺垫，还有记者啊，就是给大家讲一下大概的什么事情。我就想可能录一下最后的30-40分钟，就是其中有就是他们火箭升空的一段视频，然后这里就我废话就不多说了，现在给大家放一下。
Change to go. What do you think Bob and Doug are feeling right now?
I think, they're very calm, cool, and collected as test pilots, but I think they're thinking about what are the steps they have to take if a malfunction or something happens. So the nominal stuff is all kind of automated, but if something happens where they have to intervene with those touch screens, that's what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. And we're just inside 23 minutes now. So on Wednesday, we were 5 minutes further in the countdown when we heard that call to scrub, and the weather was still very touch and go at this point on Wednesday, but today it at least for right now, I don't want to jinx it, I'm afraid to even say it out loud, but it looks better today.
Yeah, and it feels like I'm feeling it a lot more than I did on Wednesday. Right. And speaking of Bob and Doug and them being really calm and cool and collected, I haven't had the opportunity to be in meetings with them and to
他们原本是这周3就打算发射的，但是因为天气的原因就推迟了，推迟到今天是周6嘛，同一周，然后在接下来的20分钟里，他们火箭就要发射了。
Watch them train. I have to say, and to all of my friends who work with them every single day, the feedback is always just what great people they are,
right.
Mm-hmm. And just how not just bright and sharp they are, but just good people.
Okay.
And around the office, we often refer to them as the dads.
The dads?
They're the dads. They're dads. They are dads. Yeah. And we've met their families. And when you see people on that very personal level, it starts to mean so much. They are a part of our team. They're not a customer. They're our team. They're not a payload. They're our team. They're a family. And so we're just so excited to see the dads up there today.
Yeah. Go dads.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go send it over to Gary for an update from Houston. Gary?
Hey, Marie, the space station team here is focused. All eyes are on the system checks that are happening across the board, and we're listening in as we close in on launch. And I can tell you that things are looking very good. Chris Cassidy will be watching from the International Space Station, right now flying over the Pacific Ocean. It's heading to cross right over the launch pad. We might even get some good views from the station. Hope to be capturing those. We'll have the launch view and the big screen up front, and everyone's excited to see our 2 crew members on their way to the International Space Station. But before we get to it, I just want to pass on good luck from the entire flight operations community here in Houston. It's always exciting to be doing something wholly new and history-making with station operations, and we can't wait to see our team members, Bob and Doug, in low Earth orbit and heading to the International Space Station. That's it from us here in Mission Control Houston. I'll send it back over to the team in Hawthorne for the latest happening there. John.
T-minus 20 minutes, 30 seconds. We're continuing to count down. Everything is still looking good for launch of Falcon 9 and Dragon. 22 minutes, 45 seconds after the hour.
Stage
Right
2
now on the
RP1
right-hand
mode is
side,
complete.
you can see a large white cloud coming off of the strongback. That is normal. As we get ready to load the second stage with liquid oxygen, we have to chill in the plumbing lines going up that strongback. And so as we relieve pressure, the moist, humid Florida air condenses around it, and that gives you the cloud. So that tells us that things are actually on schedule. We did begin propellant load at T-minus 35 minutes. Fuel loading on the second stage, I believe we just heard the call out that it is complete. First stage fuel load is continuing, and right now that's a little more than, that's about 60% of the way full. So things are looking good. Second stage is getting ready to begin the liquid oxygen loading. After they finish chilling in the lines that you see on the monitor, they'll begin the load at T-minus 16 minutes and 30 seconds. The range right now is go, ready to support. Weather continues to be go. As we inch our way closer, we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're waiting to hear if anybody calls out an issue, but for the moment, as you can see on the screen, it looks good. Now, on the Dragon Tide, the Dragon mission director and the team there are reporting no issues. They've done their communications checkouts. The crew access arm, as you can see, is retracted away from the spacecraft. The crew is strapped in and they are ready to go. Now, final instructions will be going to the crew at T-minus 10 minutes. The crew displays will be configured for launch, and that setup will give astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley insight into how the launch is proceeding and provides constant updates on vehicle health. We've already heard the crew give their go, close their visors, and get ready for launch. For Dragon, it'll enter terminal count at T-minus 5 minutes. When it transitions to internal power, we'll hear continued callouts on the countdown net as we get close to zero and to liftoff. But right now, at T-minus 18 minutes, 15 seconds, everything continues to be go for an on-time launch. So Dan, Jesse, things are looking pretty good. How are they doing over at your stand?
Things are great from about 15 feet away from you, John, and honestly, things are looking pretty great down at the pad there. We're seeing a lot more blue in the sky. Green is the color we want when we're talking about weather, and that's where we're sitting right now. So we're continuing to count down. We are under 18 minutes away from liftoff. Again, it's an instantaneous liftoff it's going to be 12:22 and 45 seconds here on the West Coast, 3:22 and 45 seconds over on the East Coast there in Florida. Just a reminder, it's going to be about a 9-minute ride up to orbit for the Falcon 9 and Bob and Doug on board Dragon. It'll be a 2-stage flight. So we'll see the first stage fly until we hear MECO, or main engine cutoff, about 2.5 minutes into flight. After that, the second stage will take over and continue to power them the rest of the way. Second engine cutoff comes in just under 9 minutes at about 8 minutes and 44 seconds. Following that second stage completing its job, it'll continue to coast for about 3 minutes. It'll do a slight attitude adjustment and null out any rates, so make sure it's not in any kind of a spin before they do separation. So that's when the Dragon spacecraft will physically separate from the Falcon 9 vehicle, and Bob and Doug will be flying free. It's about a 19-hour ride if we launch today on time. So that means Bob and Doug will get on orbit. They'll have a number of burns, or those firings of those Draco thrusters that they'll do over
Stage 2 LOX load started.
We hear the LOX, the liquid oxygen load has now started on stage 2. Again, they're going to be doing a series of burns on the way uphill towards the International Space Station 5, spread out over the first 16 hours or so of their flight until they get much closer and it's time for that approach and docking. And we are expecting that with an on-time launch to happen today. That'll be coming tomorrow in the afternoon. All right, now that we're under 16 minutes away, we have a special guest joining us. I'm going to toss it over to Jesse.
We are T-minus 15 minutes and 45 seconds from liftoff of our second demonstration mission today, and we have the honor of having SpaceX's president and COO, Gwen Shotwell, join us. Thanks, Gwen, for coming out and taking a few minutes to chat with us.
Thanks, Jesse.
We know you've been on console. How's the countdown been going so far in there?
countdown is clean today, just like it was Wednesday. We did clear the weather hurdles sooner than we did on Wednesday. And the only thing we're watching right now is downrange weather and lightning at the staging location.
Of course.
But we will clear that hurdle at T-minus 7 minutes.
Awesome. Great. Very exciting. Now I'm going to throw it back to 2012 because you were on console for Dragon when it was first making its way to the space station. How does that experience compare to today?
Stage 2 locks is on the DPUs.
So I was nervous then. I stopped getting nervous for launches. Today I'm nervous again. Super nervous. Stomach and throat.
Understandable.
No, it's a fantastic day today. I'm really excited. The team is pulled together. It's such a professional operation. When I say team, by the way, I mean SpaceX and NASA. These folks have been working incredibly hard and have done a fantastic job.
Yes, and we are all so excited. And we know that you have to get back inside of mission control, but is there anything that you wanted to say before liftoff to NASA and SpaceX?
Well, I want to thank NASA, of course, for their generosity and their help with getting to this place. I want to thank all the SpaceXers who have come together to make this moment in history. And I want to thank Elon for hiring me.
We thank Elon for hiring you as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll let you get back to mission control. And good luck with launch today.
Thanks, Jesse. And Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
Well, we are so excited. We are just a few minutes away from countdown. So we are going to turn it over to Dan and John for the final minutes in terminal count. Take it away, John.
T-minus 13 minutes, 30 seconds, continuing to count down. We're continuing to load fuel onto the first stage. That should finish up in just about 6 minutes. Fuel is completely loaded on the second stage. That's closed out. And we are continuing to load liquid oxygen on both the first and second stage. The liquid oxygen load beginning on the second stage just about 3.5 minutes ago. We are also loading cryogenic helium into the storage vessels on the first and second stage, getting in the last little bits of helium when we keep it cryogenic, cold and liquefied. That gets us, just like we do with liquid oxygen, the maximum amount into the storage volume so that we can get the most performance out of the vehicle. Right now, we are in a fairly quiet state on the vehicle. Ground pumps continuing to put the propeller through couple. We'll listen for that. But at the moment, everything continuing to look good at T-minus 12 minutes and 20 seconds.
Over 12 minutes away. Just a reminder for everybody, it's about a 9-minute ride uphill. We'll have some dueling boxes going on as that first stage is going to be coming home while the second stage is carrying Bob and Doug into orbit. Obviously, we'll be keeping an eye on our astronauts the whole way uphill. Some of the calls that you'll be hearing, as there will be what we call performance calls over the Dragon to ground the entire way uphill. And you'll just hear some of the SpaceX engineers calling out trajectories and booster performance. So we're always looking for that word nominal. I know that's one of John's favorite words. That's one of mine too. We want to hear nominal as much as possible up on the way uphill. You might also hear some number and letter combinations, and those correspond to the different abort zones that Bob and Doug are in during their flight uphill. There's 1A and 1B, which signify that they're on the first stage. Those carry them from there in the Cape all the way up to about the very top of North Carolina. And then we'll have 2A through 2E or 2 Echo, and that will be on the second stage. And that goes from North Carolina all the way up to about the tip of Newfoundland, so in the northern Atlantic. And then there is a zone of the northern Atlantic that we're going to avoid. And so you should hear the call out be something similar to forward to Shannon. And that just refers to Shannon, Ireland, which they'll be going off the coast of Ireland. Just prepping you now for some of those calls. You're hopefully going to hear that word just to confirm that their displays are in order. The crew is already strapped in and reported that they are go for launch. And we'll continue to watch the fuel gauges tick up on the Falcon 9 vehicle until fueling cuts off at just about 2 minutes prior to launch.
Dragon and SpaceX confirmed displays are configured for launch.
SpaceX Dragon displays are configured for launch.
Copy. Bob, Doug, on behalf of the entire SpaceX team, it's been a huge honor to help you get ready for today's historic mission. Know that we're with you. Have an amazing flight and enjoy those views of our beautiful planet.
Thanks, Jay. It is absolutely our honor to be part of this huge effort to get the United States back in the launch business. We'll talk to you from orbit. Thank you.
Copy all. Thanks for those words.
The SpaceX core. So again, that voice that's going to be talking to Bob and Doug throughout their mission from right here in Hawthorne, just offering a few quick words. The crew did confirm their crew displays are configured for launch. We are coming up on 9 minutes and counting.
We've gotten through T-minus 10 minute with the crew discussions. Activity is now going to switch over to Falcon 9. Our next major event comes at T-minus 7 minutes. We begin what we call engine chill. Pre-valves will open. Those currently separate propellants on the first stage from getting down to the Merlin engines. We'll open the pre-valves. That allowed fuel liquid oxygen to flow to the top of the pumps. And more importantly, when we open the valves, that'll allow us to begin chilling the 9 Merlin 1D turbo pumps on the first stage engine. It'll take a few minutes to get them cold enough to where they would then be ready to pass the large amounts of liquid oxygen through the pumps and into the main thrust chambers when we get to engine ignition at T-minus 2 seconds. We don't want to try to run highly chilled liquid oxygen through a warm pump. You would flash that into gas, and running gas through a high-speed pump is not a good thing. So right now, we are waiting for T-minus 7 minutes. That'll start the engine chill. Shortly after that, we will also get the fuel shutdown. Listening to the SpaceX launch director in the background there. As I mentioned, at T-minus 7 minutes, as we start the chill, we will also get into the final topping off of stage 1 fuel, and then the fuel load will complete.
Stage 2 engine chill has started.
Chill has started. That's gone up to the crew so that they've got situational awareness. As I mentioned, the pre-valves are open. And now we're topping off first stage fuel, getting ready to finish the fuel load. Liquid oxygen load on first and second stage will continue until the last 3 to 2 minutes of the countdown.
We should hear that call out RP1 load complete coming up at about 6 minutes. Again, RP1 is just that densified kerosene or that rocket fuel that Falcon 9 is going to be used to power Bob and Doug to orbit today.
And stage 1 fuel is closed out.
The fuel loading on the first stage is complete. Draining back the lines now. So first stage and second stage fuel are complete. Liquid oxygen loading is continuing on both stages. You can see on the view on the left side of the monitor, the condensation, the cold gas wrapped around the stages as the tank skins are chilled by the densified liquid oxygen, picking up the humidity from the Florida air.
Looks like at this moment we're a little more than 90% full on the oxidizer on the first stage, ticking up towards that 80% mark on the second stage. We'll be counting down all the way till about 2 or 3 minutes, as John and I just said, until everything is loaded.
Falcon 9 heaters closing out.
And then we will go for launch.
Dragon has transitioned to configure for terminal count. Vehicle tanks pressing for strongback retract.
The second stage and begin to retract the strongback. We'll move back about 2 degrees. That'll get us to the liftoff position. At liftoff, The strongback will then recline about 45 degrees away.
Started. Stage 2, RV1 bleed.
Launch director called out the strongback retract has started. On the left, you'll see it go back just a couple of degrees.
Stage 1, RV1 bleed.
Just 4 minutes away from liftoff. Again, at this moment, Bob and Doug are really just laser focused on those displays. They have insight directly into Dragon and the Falcon 9. They're able to see where their fuel loading is at, how everything's progressing down with the count.
AFTS final setup started.
Three and a half minutes from launch.
And the strongback is now reclining away from the Falcon 9.
M-bag igniter purges. Pogo bleed. Dragon has transitioned to terminal count and is on internal power. Stage 1, LOX load close out.
Okay, we're at T-minus 2 minutes, 42 seconds. Stage 1 LOX load is closed out. Stage 2 will continue to load for about another half a minute or so. Once we get the completion of Stage 2 LOX loading, we have to vent down the line, so you'll see another large white cloud coming off of the strongback. That'll be normal. That'll happen around
transitioning to
T-minus 1 minute and 40 seconds. We're going on internal power now.
Just a few seconds away from the Stage 2 LOX load being complete.
This is an NBC News America.
Good afternoon. We're here to bring you what could be the dawn of a new era in space travel, the first launch of U.S. astronauts into space from American soil in nearly a decade, and the first ever by a private contractor. This will be the second attempt after a Wednesday launch was scrubbed due to moments from now from the Kennedy Space Center carrying two astronauts. It happened. Historic day, Tom.
It is indeed. 2 American lives are on the line here. Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken are the 2 astronauts strapped into that SpaceX rocket behind me on the historic launch pad 39A, taking off at 3:22 Eastern Time. 9 Merlin rockets will ignite, lifting the Falcon 9 rocket up to the space station as they accelerate on 1.7 million pounds of thrust. This is a very big deal for all the reasons that you just outlined. And we're now about to go to SpaceX mission control. 45 seconds until the final liftoff. Important to note here, this is a SpaceX mission, a private company's mission with NASA astronauts on board. Mission control is outside of the Kennedy Space Center. It's actually in California. So far, it's been a very smooth countdown, despite the fact that we had bad weather on Wednesday, and we're now down to T-minus 30 seconds and counting here, Jose, as we listen into the final countdown with SpaceX mission control. A key word to listen for as we go into this final launch is that maximum Q, max Q you will hear at 58 seconds into the launch, and that is when they have the maximum loads on the spacecraft. Here we go.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
America has launched. And so rises a new era of American spaceflight, and with the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream. 20 seconds into flight, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Plus 30 seconds into this historic mission. Flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9, and look at them go.
Falcon power telemetry nominal.
And 1D throttle down.
We're throttling down to get ready for the period of maximum dynamic pressure. We're in the throttle bucket. Reports say all systems are go.
Vehicle is supersonic.
We've exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9.
M1D throttle up.
We're throttling back up to full power as we're through max Q.
Copy 1 Bravo.
We heard that 1 Bravo call out. That's just the second abort zone that they're in. They'll continue to be on this until the first stage has done its job and they switch over to the second. At this point, Bob and Doug pulling about 2.3 Gs, 2.3 times the Earth's gravity, already moving at over 1,500 miles per hour.
We've heard the call out.
17,000 miles per hour. Listen, this has been a spectacular liftoff so far. It really harkens back to the Apollo days with the thunder and the roar and the buildings here at the Kennedy Space Center rumbling. Watch that countdown clock at 2 minutes and 38 seconds. MECO, main engine cutoff. That's going to be a critical moment as we listen into SpaceX.
Astronauts into orbit. Coming up in about 20 seconds.
M1D throttle down.
We heard we're throttling down the Merlin engines on the first stage. And we have MECO.
MECO.
2 Alpha. Falcon stage separation confirmed. Copy 2 Alpha.
Critical moment there, MECO. Main engine cutoff from the first stage of the rocket now separating, allowing the second stage to continue along with the Dragon at 17,000 miles per hour, headed for the International Space Station. Jose, this could not have gone better. It has been absolutely picture perfect so far. They've got a 19-hour journey to the space station.
Unbelievable is the word that comes to mind, Tom Costello. Thank you very much. Joining us from Houston, astronaut Michael Fink. Michael, it seems like we've seen some of these images before, but it's all so different and new.
It is new. This is a new rocket to launch people on. We've been working with SpaceX for a long time, NASA, the Air Force. We count on the Falcon 9. We still got second stage, 6,000 happening. And further, Dr.
We'll return you now to NBC's
interesting ride for the.
他们已经就是进入地球的轨道了，接下来的19个小时的旅程是把他们送到太空站，他们就算是第一步就算是完成了。然后可以看到左下角这个7644公里每小时，这是他们的现在火箭的速度，每小时可以达到7644公里每小时。然后这个是高度，他们的海拔高度，他们现在所在的高度是159千米的高度，跟地面距离159千米这么一个距离。然后为什么这是一个大消息呢？是因为这是第一次美国的一个私人公司跟 NASA 合作，因为 NASA 已经很久没有在发射火箭了，他们把这个业务就往外承包了，因为太花钱了嘛，然后国家就承担不起。然后这是第一次跟私人公司，就是伊朗马斯克的公司 SpaceX 一起合作，然后第一次，这也是私人公司第一次载人火箭上天成功。SpaceX 就是特斯拉的 CEO 创办的另外一家公司，就是 SpaceX， 然后这是他们第一次载人，他们火箭之前上天是成功的，但是没有载过人，这是第一次载人，所以也是个大消息。然后今天就跟大家录到这里，然后希望大家喜欢，然后谢谢，大家拜拜。